I covered the bloodthirst of the media and a lot of Russia-gators in order to prolong the U.S. war in Afghanistan, even get us into a proxy war with Russia. And it's only gotten to new heights in the last 24 hours with Congress. Everybody's beating down the door saying we need to receive this intelligence. The New York Times has gotten further reporting saying that Trump got a written briefing in February on possible Russian bounties. The White House's defense, not a very good one, is that, well, Trump didn't necessarily read that written briefing.
Of course he didn't.
Which I do think is slightly humorous when you think about it. But regardless, Ryan, I mean, they're trying to get into all of this, who knew and what they knew it, because the end result, as we can see, is they want something to be done against Russia. Now, what exactly does that mean? And you can see the level of hysteria that people are that are ginning up around this is reaching new heights. I mean, Claire McCaskill, former United States Senator, now MSNBC contributor, she wants to turn it into Benghazi. Let's take a listen.
But the notion they are asking the Republicans to run up to the White House to get their political instructions, to learn how to lie for this president at a moment that Putin has a price on the heads of our military in Afghanistan. This is a scandal. I mean, they wanted to make a big deal about Benghazi. This makes Benghazi look like playing with toys. This is a big deal, and they are not treating it like it's a big deal.
Right, and the reason that they want it to be Benghazi, Ryan, is, and Republican neocons are playing the game, is because they all agree on one fundamental premise. Something must be done. What does that something look like? More war in Afghanistan. They do not care. All they want to do, all the people that leaked this want to do, is to derail the U.S. effort in Afghanistan. They saw it, and they were like, oh, well, I mean, what does the intelligence community who leaked this want? They want to kill some Russians in Afghanistan? That's insane. If any president tried to do that, I would call them right out here on the show, Democrat, Republican, because it is deranged to try and escalate the war in Afghanistan to that level.
Yeah, and this feigned outrage that there are people shooting at American soldiers in a war.
I know. Yeah.
Is incoherent.
Right.
If you arm and train soldiers and send them to a foreign country to occupy it, the chances are that people are going to shoot at them.
As they have for 20 years.
You're putting their lives at risk. And for what? And so the outrage over this is, like you said, it is clearly designed to throw a wrench in the peace process. It might simply be that there are people involved in the peace process that want a little bit more leverage so that they can keep troops in particular places so that they can, I don't know the ins and outs of the ongoing negotiations, so I don't know exactly what pieces they're fighting over. But that's a game that's being played over here. Meanwhile, the Democrats are playing a somewhat different game. Claire McCaskill is fine with a war in Afghanistan, but she's not actually agitating to send troops all over the globe. That let the national security apparatus do what it does. They think that this is an opportunity to further hurt Donald Trump and knock him maybe even under 35 at this point, because it brings Russia, Afghanistan. Trump wasn't briefed. He says he doesn't, and he's lying. And so, the whole thing creates a lot of smoke that just kind of further dents him and further allows Joe Biden to not be part of the conversation.
Yeah, and you said something funny yesterday where you were like, why would you again pick a Russia story, which the whole country is like, I don't care about this. They're like, and not like the coronavirus story, which there's been nothing more than coronavirus, which has killed Trump's re-election chances. No single event has killed it more than that. I mean, at least killed it to the extent where it is right now, a lot can happen. But American seniors, by and large, turned away against Trump. Every demographic is turning away against Trump for one reason, because of coronavirus, and they feel like there's chaos and there's no handle on the situation.
Yes, if it were pure, cynical, pragmatic politics, the two things hurting Trump the most are obviously his handling of the pandemic. We're 5-10% of the population. We now have a fifth of the deaths around the world. And that chart that keeps getting passed around.
The one that shows the U.S. going up.
The U.S. going up, everybody else, getting back to normal, is utterly damning to anybody who's in leadership, including people like Cuomo and de Blasio.
And CDC,
they've been significantly damaged. But Trump, as the president, takes the most blame. That's number one. Number two are the uprisings around police violence, because he doesn't know how to respond to it. And every time he does something like tweet a white power video, clear clear a square of protesters so he can do a photo op. It hurts him in the suburbs, particularly.
Of course.
And it hurts him, he was making gains particularly among black working class men over the last year. His poll numbers were ticking up there. So it hurts him there, and it hurts him where he's most vulnerable in the suburbs. And this country is becoming one giant suburb. Like if you drive across it, yes, there are still rural areas. There are many fewer people living in those rural areas, and the suburbs are just creeping closer and closer into those areas, and it's homogenizing to the place where you can't exactly talk about Georgia culture as distinct as much from Pennsylvania culture as it used to, because the suburbs outside of Houston, outside of Atlanta, outside of Philadelphia,
not all that different.
Drop somebody down there, the weather's a little different, but otherwise you got the same businesses, the same people, the same companies.
Good point.
And so that's what's really hurting him. So why go for this?
Yeah. And that's why I think it's ideological. That's why I think that there is nothing driving this except bloodthirst, except more blood in Afghanistan, more people and troops shed. I mean, and nobody I see is speaking out on behalf of it. Nobody is saying, if this report is true, which again, I do not doubt that it is true in some form. I've covered the war for a long time, but that the end goal should be to get U.S. forces out of Afghanistan. That should be our end goal. And I mean, people were pointing out, it's like the whole proxy war in Afghanistan, that is something that's been going on for a long time. And does the Taliban need a financial incentive to kill Americans? I didn't think so. The last time I checked, they did it for free for a very, very long time. And so you look at so many of these different things and you're like, wow, they really want this war to go until the end of Biden's presidency, until the end of Kamala Harris's presidency. They truly cannot stomach the idea that we will ever pull our troops out of Afghanistan. Despite how many billions of dollars that we continue to pour there, they could care less. And it really makes me sick. But it's just something that we're going to continue to keep everybody updated here. So we'll have more Rising for you after this.